Hello, my name is Jean Harrison from the Fintech Times, and we are here at Fintech Week London with Betsy Samuel from Thredd. Betsy, how are you doing this morning?
I am doing terrific. It's Monday morning, and I love your energy. So
you've got to keep it up somehow.
I am happy to be here as well. You make me sit up a little bit straighter and remember to smile. So I appreciate
amazing.
it. It's great to be here.
Well, I'd love to hear a little bit more about yourself and Thredd and the role that you do at Thredd as well.
Perfect. So I'm Betsy Samuel. I am the CMO at Thredd, and Thredd is a leading issuer processor serving clients in the UK, in Europe, and across the Asia Pacific region.
Well, I know it's only just started, but how are you finding everything so far? How's your morning been?
Once I found it, it was terrific. Now, in all seriousness, this is a terrific venue to have such an important event for this city and for the UK in general. I mean, the modernity of the stadium and the colors and the lights, I think, really got people into the right frame of mind to listen to keynotes, to talk to sponsors and exhibitors, and especially to network with each other. So I think it's going to be a great few days.
Fantastic. So of course, we have to talk about the rebrand. Too long ago.
Exactly.
So you used to be Global Processing Services. Tell me about that. What sparked the desire to do the rebrand?
So as a leading processor, Global Processing Services is very well known in this market. However, the name Global Processing Services, while it is global in nature, is a bit limiting because it is very similar to a number of other names. It gets abbreviated to GPS, which as an American, we immediately think of sat-nav systems. Mm-hmm. It's very hard to Google and find. So on a very practical level, it made sense as we were continuing to evolve as a company to change our name. Then why did we choose Thredd as a name? When once we made the decision that it was the right time to rebrand, it was important for us to find a name that truly reflected our role in the ecosystem or the fabric of payments. And so Thredd represents who we are in that fabric, that we're one piece, we're an important thread, but we don't create just on our own. To create that ecosystem, that fabric, that tapestry really depends on our partnership with our clients and bringing their vision to life.
Yeah, fantastic. And how has the response been so far?
It's really been terrific, Polly. There's so much energy as part of the brand. You and I were talking earlier about the importance of color, mm-hmm. and in our space, we often see a sea of blue. And so it was important for us to find a visual identity that matched with the spirit as well as reflected the essential weave of the payments industry and the colors, et cetera, representing all of our partners. So it has been so exciting to see that response from our clients who like, oh, I get it. Or, oh, I love those patterns. Oh, I see those socks. And if nothing else, it makes for really great merch at events. But it also embodies the spirit of who we are, and the colors really bring to life, our aspirations to really bring our clients' vision to reality.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've always got to have the best socks at these events, right?
Exactly.
It's all about the socks. But I mean, how does this rebrand then tie into sort of the general growth plans and just your roadmap generally within Thredd at the moment?
Yeah, that's a terrific question, and one that we spend a lot of time at Thredd focused on. As you know, we were purchased by some great investors at the beginning of 2022. So we've had the opportunity over the last year to consider our role in the payments ecosystem, and particularly, as you've seen at a conference like this one, the importance of being able to provide services for clients that offer a number of different solutions is essential. So we have clients today that represent buy now, pay later, or different type of disbursements. Of course, neobanks was our original bread and butter. So in terms of the future ecosystem and our future roadmap, for us, it's all about how do we further power where they're going and provide to build off of what we're particularly good at, which is issuing processing, and taking a good look at what are the ancillary services to that to help secure the transactions, to secure those programs, as well as making it as easy as possible to work with us and for those clients to expand what their current use cases might be.
Yeah, fantastic. And so I know you're speaking on stage later on today. I'd love to hear more about that and what you have planned.
Well, to say I have a plan would be a bit of an overstatement, but luckily a lot of the topic is about my personal experience. Mm-hmm. So while I'm joking that I don't have a plan of what I want to say, what I really want to make sure that I convey is the importance of diverse thought and diverse experience to the fintech industry. Mm-hmm. And I've been fortunate in the 30 years that I've been in payments, primarily in the US, but for the last few years here in the UK, to have been very warmly supported. My story is really one of kind of being dealt a hand of cards and needing to play those cards. And the cards that were dealt to me was at age 24, being diagnosed with HIV, which I contracted from my first husband. So as you can imagine, as a 24-year-old, in 1992, when I was diagnosed, the prognosis was pretty grim. But really, one of the things that's allowed me to live the life that I have lived, and I really like to characterize it as living, is the support that I have always had in the workplace. And I think, and that was fintech before we even called it fintech. That was the original days of payments. But I think one of the defining characteristics of that payments ecosystem is innovation and new thought and doing things differently and not being okay with the status quo. And so I was really fortunate early on to have leaders within the organizations where I worked that really took that innovative spirit to heart. And my first boss, who was the president of the organization that I worked for and a former banker, when I told him that was likely going to be the diagnosis I received after my husband was diagnosed, he said, well, I think we should tell everybody. And I was mortified, first of all, because, I was 24, I was at the beginning of my career, HIV, particularly then in the era of Ryan White, who wasn't able to go to school and was ostracized, and Freddie Mercury, who couldn't even tell people he had it, to others that just immediately died. I couldn't believe it. But his feeling was that even if you don't share it, people will find out and they'll think you were ashamed. And he said, and that's not what you want to have happen. You shouldn't be ashamed by this diagnosis. It's a diagnosis like any other. So he said, well, if you agree, and I ultimately did agree, take the week off and I will tell everybody. And I got back a week later, and in what really characterized sort of the next 30 years of my career, people came by and said, checked in on me, how are you doing? And somebody said, well, do you want to know what Tom said to us? And I said, sure. I said, well, he called us into the conference room in small groups and said, Betsy has HIV, and if you treat her any differently, you're fired. So that's a very long version of the beginning portion of my journey. But like I said, it really characterized what I have strived to emulate in my career, which is is taking what might not be the popular opinion and embracing it, and embracing the people that might hold those opinions. How can I lift them up? How can I find a way to make their lives matter? Because that was really what drove me from the beginning. Is, I didn't know how long I was going to have. I really didn't think I'd make it to 30. Now I'm 55, which is really fascinating to think about. But that I just wanted to leave the world a better place than what I found it. And that would be my advice for anybody that hears my story, is we all have that power. I mean, if I didn't wake up that day that I was diagnosed thinking, oh, this is going to be the rest of my life. But we have a choice, and that's what we can control, is how we choose to deal with what's given to us. And it makes life that much more satisfying. It makes our companies that much more effective. It makes our friend groups, our families, that much more robust when we openly talk about and share, our adversities as well as our successes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's such a noble thing to share your story, especially one such as yours. I know, like you were saying, it can be a bit of a tricky subject to broach. Why is it important to you to share that with the wider people? Why, like, you're speaking later on today. Why was it important to you to really get that out there?
That's a great point. There's a few reasons it's important. And I've had 30 years to think about it, so I'll try to be concise. But one is that I know what it feels like to get a diagnosis or to get news that no one wants to hear. And so I know how that feels. And that can cause severe depression. It can send you into a spiral that even your diagnosis might not have led you to. So I want to be that support. I want people to know that it's I'm a safe person to talk to. I also would like to convey to people that we all have something. I mean, you can't live for too long without having your own set of baggage, or I like to say I have luggage. That we're better for sharing it. And we can make much more comfortable work environments. I mean, I truly believe that I am here because I didn't have to spend energy concealing and worrying. I could just go to work and it was just work. I could work, I could focus. I didn't have to be the diagnosis. So that's really kind of the third part that I'd like to convey, is that, while I might have HIV, that's not what defines me. I'm who I am. Now, it's a combination of having HIV, but it's also, I am a wife. I have a professional career. I am a mother. We're all multifaceted people, and so the more we can embrace that, whoever you are, the better.
Yeah, absolutely. That's amazing. And then I guess, why is it important then that we have this diversity of I guess thought and opinions and different backgrounds? Why is that important to have that voice in fintech?
Oh, well, fintech is all about innovation. It's all about seeing the opportunities that others didn't see. I mean, the concept of fintech wouldn't exist if the status quo was okay. And so if you always have the same people with the same thoughts, guess what? You're going to get the same results. That what makes fintech are different people thinking about the same kinds of problems, but coming at it with a different approach, whether it's via technology, whether it's via having a neurodiverse way of looking at things, whether it's someone like myself that really wants to embrace, like, I want to live all the time. That's important. We will come up with new and innovative ways of thinking if we bring new and different people to the challenge.
Fantastic. Well, Betsy, thank you so much for your time today. It's been a pleasure to chat to you.
Likewise. Thanks, Polly.